welcome to one of the biggest changes in Minecraft in a very, very long time. The very first snapshot of the Nether update. I am Mr. Fearless, and we're here on Java. I prefer to play on Bedrock myself, but thankfully Java always comes out with those nice snapshot updates, and I do have Java, so we're going to be checking it out on this version of the game. And as you can see, I am sporting some new stuff here, wearing some new fancy armor, and of course equipped with some fancy new tools. We'll check those out in a moment, but first, we're actually in the Nether right now, looking at some new biomes, and I think that's the best place to start. And what better place to start than the place I'm standing in right now, which is, the Crimson Forest. This is one of the new biomes, and one of the things that strikes me immediately upon entering this biome, as opposed to, we can wander over here and back, is the dark red sky here, as well as the red particle effects, which are supposed to be the fungi of this biome's most prominent feature, the Crimson Tree, which is right here. It's made of crimson stems, nether warts, these vines right here, which are called weeping vines, as well as shroomlight. Now, if we change ourselves into survival here, we can actually, hopefully not get attacked by ghasts. They've been messing with me all day. On no matter what version of the game, they're always after me. Okay. We're going to try to mine this block right here like we would any tree in Minecraft with an axe, and we will get the crimson stem. Now, it may look like a log to you, and that's because it operates much like one. You get planks, which is really, really cool. You can craft these in all sorts of different blocks, including, I think, even crafting benches. Let's see, actually. Yep, crafting bench. Anything you want that's wood-related, you can create out of this, with its own variants, which we'll show off here in a moment. And the really cool thing, I think, in these trees are the shroomlights here. Very powerful lighting block that you can collect with any tool. I just picked up with an axe, but of course we can pick it up with our hands for whatever reason. Very strange, considering that all very powerful light blocks in the game, like sea lanterns and glowstone, require silk touch. But we can pick this up with our hands, and it has the same light level. Very strange, but an interesting change nonetheless. So yeah, that is the tree, but of course this biome has a little bit more to offer, other than trees. Beneath the trees is the most prominent block in this biome, which is the Crimson Nelium. As we can see here, it's like a mycelium, but for the Nether. And this is actually a really interesting block, in of its own right, because if we could find some rogue netherrack here, it spreads to netherrack when you bone meal it. As long as it's adjacent to netherrack, as you can see, you can't bone meal here, it spreads to it, which is crazy. Another way to change netherrack, I guess, and it's something useful. Those meat bricks finally finding their use. And as well, if we look at the foliage down here on the ground level, we could find ourselves some crimson roots, which are the grass of the biome. Got to start throwing stuff away. Inventory's getting full. As well as crimson fungi, which are the sproutlings for the trees here. You bone meal these to get the trees. And this is also probably one of the most dangerous biomes in the Nether, because we got the hoglins here. Right now, they have no AI. They don't drop anything useful either. So we can actually see that here real quick. Test out this poor fella. They don't fight back. They don't do anything, even when you're in survival. I tested it out. And they don't really drop anything either. So you can see it's only rotten flesh right now, and they're supposed to have their own food source. So we're definitely going to see what they could do in the future update. For now, they're in the game, and they're in this biome, which is really cool. Now, next door to the Crimson biome is, of course, the Soul Sand Valley biome, which, as you can see, it has sort of a nice light blue color. But one of the weird things about this update is the stark transitions between biome colors. As you can see, this is a nice blue, this is the very harsh red, and it's like an instant transition. They definitely need to make that a little bit more gradual, and not so sudden, because it's a little bit jarring, especially if you're like walking around here. The sudden change in the skyline. But that is a story for another update. Now, there are a couple of things you should notice in this biome, other than the blue fire. For example, after the chat from Mr. Fearless, bones. Those will actually spawn now here in the Nether, maybe implying there's some ancient beasts that have been slain here in the distant past. As well as these new blocks here, which is basalt. They spawn in these giant pillars that go all the way up to the roof of the Nether. And they're very interesting. It's a stone block with some directionality to it. We'll be talking about that a little bit more later. And if you look at the ground, the next big transition is probably the different type of soul sand you may notice, called soul soil. Say that 5 times fast. And as you can probably tell, it's a little bit different than other blocks of the game. For one, it has a blue fire on it, when everything else is red fire, as you can see. And that blue fire lasts forever, just like it does on other stuff like netherrack. So you can take that blue fire anywhere you want, as long as you have the block. It also doesn't slow you down when you walk on it, as you can see. It's not really impeding my movement speed. Unlike regular soul sand, which is right next door, it does. And as well, soul soil doesn't move you down a block when you walk into it. So if we walk here, you can see that as I'm walking into it, I sort of sink. Sort of hard to tell that, but you do sink like a 16th of a block when you stand on soul sand, but it does not happen on soul soil. So it's like this strange counterpart to soul sand. Also, one interesting thing is you can't light soul sand on fire. So, very interesting block. It's also used in the crafting recipe that we'll talk about later, so if you find it, you might want to collect it. I think something that many people have not noticed is that the bottom of lava lakes in this biome are entirely covered in soul sand and soul soil, which is much different from the other 3 biomes in this update that don't have that, because they're covered in netherrack. So if you want to take the time to clear out the lava lake, as I have done here with commands, you can access all this soul sand and soul soil. So if you really want more of it, that's a place to get it. Though I'm not sure you're going to run out anytime soon with biomes like this. Another weird thing to notice about this biome, you see these guys here walking around. And that's different from most biomes nether, that actually skeletons will spawn here. As you can see, these fellas are showing off for us very cleanly. As well as endermen, as you can see them walking around. No zombie pigmen so far. I'm wondering if they're going to spawn here at all. And ghasts. Of course, you can't forget the ghasts. They don't let you forget, because they make so much noise. Another interesting thing as we get this fortress right here shows us is that fortresses have not changed at all in the update so far. You can see they're still spawning with their skeletons and stuff like that. And they definitely have intersection problems with the terrain here because of the new biomes. So I'm hoping they're going to get revamped. I'm pretty sure they will be, because they're 10 years old now. Not changed since 1.0 release of the game, practically. And I would love to see variations of the Nether Fortress that correspond to the biome. So a Soul Valley variant and a Crimson Forest variant would be cool. But just a really modern overhaul of these guys would be really nice. Compared to the other stuff like villages in the overworld, even to the old structures like pyramids, this is not a very good design. It doesn't look very aesthetically pleasing, and I think it can make this a really cool build, like they have with villages in the overworld. So we'll have to wait to see what they can do with that. And that is it for the Soul Sand Valley biome. As you can see, it's not going to be a very fast biome to traverse because of the Soul Sand. And with the skeletons walking around, it's going to be very difficult to not get shot. So you're probably going to want a bow in this biome if you ever find yourself here. So yeah, on to the next biome. The next biome we have here, of course, is this nice blue biome. As we go into here, we can see that's actually got a purple glow to it, which is interesting, and blue particles that are the fungal spores of these trees, which are the warped fungal trees, because this is actually the warped forest. It is probably the safest biome in the Nether. As you can see, the only thing that spawns here really are these endermen, and they're everywhere here for some reason. It's like, it treats it like the end, because I think they're the only thing that can spawn here. Not even ghasts spawn here, or pigmen, or hoglins, so this is definitely the safest place to be if you find yourself in the Nether, which is a strange thing to say when it comes to the Nether. The Nether usually is a very hostile place. But just like the Crimson Forest, it's an evil counterpart. This biome has the warped Nelium on the floor, which is what everything grows on in this biome. Warped Roots, which is like the grass, and it also has, we can find it, yep, Warped Spruits, which is like or Nether Spruits, which are like a low-lying grass, as well as these guys here, which are warped fungi. Now these guys grow into the trees here, which again, are the most prominent thing in this biome. And if we change ourselves into, not creative, survival, and take a pick at this, we can show you that they're pretty much the same as the other trees in the Crimson biome, except just a different color, blue. Oops. And as you can see, they craft into the warp planks, which you could turn into anything you really want that's wood-related. And the trees themselves spawn with this nice blue wart block. Yeah, warped wart block. So it's a blue variant of Netherwart. And the shroom lights, just like in the Crimson biome, which is really exciting. Because it's another way to get those shroom lights, which are really powerful. Hi there, Enderman. Almost looked at him. Almost got murked by an Enderman in Java. So yeah, this is like the tamest of all the biomes. It's pretty safe. It looks really, really cool. I think this is probably the most unique looking biome in the Nether now, with the purple glow and the blue. Because normally the Nether is like a dark, dull red. But speaking of dark, dull red, I think that's the next place we're going to go. Now, of course, the last biome to talk about is the least interesting out of all of them. It is the Nether Wastes, which is just a replacement for the original Nether in the game. So this is going to be still around. The Nether we're used to and accustomed to. As you can see, there's the pig people spawning around. I think they're going to get a revamp. They're going to get a living counterpart. And not much else is different. I think it's pretty much the same as the old Nether, as you can see. It's got the quartz. It's got the netherrack, the meat bricks, of course. We gotta have our meat bricks. We can't lose them. The pig people and ghasts. So it's definitely the least interesting, but I'm glad they've kept it because this is definitely what the Nether has looked like for 10 years now. And it would be a shame to lose it completely to these new beautiful biomes. So if you're interested in nostalgia, don't worry, it's still here. And that is all for the new biomes in the update. For now, though, we're going to go back into the overworld and check out some more stuff. And really look at these blocks in a little bit more detail. Well, of course, we're back here in the overworld now, in the best biome of the game, of course, to show off all the naturally generating blocks in the new biomes. So we can start off over here with this block, which is actually called an Ancient Debris. This is a block you'll need to mine, and which we'll talk about in a little bit, in order to get to the netherite items. That generates in every single biome at the bottom of the world. The next is, of course, the Soul Sand Valley, which has the basalt, which is a which is a really interesting block. It has a directionality, sort of like wood logs do, right? As you can see here. But it doesn't craft in anything. I would really like to see this craft into stairs and other such blocks, sort of like other types of stone in the game. That'd be really cool. And of course, next to it in the Soul Sand Valley, we also have the Soul Soil, which is also used in a crafting recipe, which we'll show off a little bit here. In the Crimson Forest biome, there's a couple different blocks. Of course, there's the Shroom Light, which is a really cool light source, which we talked about before, really powerful. Then we've got the Nelium, which is the ground cover in the Crimson biome. It's basically like mycelium, but for the nether. And we have the two things that grow on Crimson Nelium, which is the Crimson Roots, which is like a grass, and of course the Crimson Fungi. Now this, if you bone meal it, will turn into the Crimson Tree here, the Crimson Fungal Tree. And you could do that in the overworld as we have over there. And it'll spawn with the Shroom Lights and the Netherwart blocks, as well as these Weeping Vines that hang from it. These are similar to overworld vines, except that they hang down from the bottoms, as you can see, of blocks. They don't grow on the side of blocks, unlike regular vines. And this is the most dangerous biome because, of course, the Hoglins spawn there. And lastly, of the three new biomes, we've got the Warped Forest biome. Similar to the Crimson Forest biome, the Warped Forest biome has another type of Nelium. As we can see here, it's the Warped Nelium. Not very creative with the naming, but that's okay. And on top of the Warped Nelium, you'll see Warped Roots spawning, which again is like the grass. And then we have Nether Sprouts, which is like a low-lying grass. The Warped Fungi, again like the Crimson Fungi, grows into the Warped Stem, the Warped Netherwart block, and Shroom Lights to form the Fungal Trees, as you can see here. Now, before we talk about the wood types, which you can see a little glimpse of over there, we're going to show where they come from. As we've seen in Nether, we can get these different types of fungi, which are the Crimson Fungi and the Warped Fungi. Now, they grow sort of like mushroom trees do, in that they need to be on top of a block. And in this case, it's a Nelium that spawns in the Nether. Now, it doesn't matter which type of Nelium, it just needs to be one of the types you get from the Nether. So it could be either Warped or Crimson for either type of fungi. And as you would expect from any other type of tree, you do bone meal it like this. As you can see, they have quite a varied height. They can be really tiny and crazy and all this. They're much more varied than regular trees in the game. And they're not too different from each other, as we can see. We bone meal them both, and we get very similar types of trees. Now, the main difference, as you can probably tell, is one's blue and one's red. But more so than that, this tree, the red one, the crimson one, is the only tree that will spawn with these weeping vines in them. The other one does not spawn with those. And they both spawn with the Shroom Light. Now you may be thinking, if this block right here, the Shroom Light, is on par with almost any of the most powerful life sources in the game, this might be a sustainable way to farm this forever. Now, you might be right, but the problem being is I haven't seen a way to get more and more of these fungi blocks. They don't seem to be farmable at this point. They might only be collectible, which means you have to go to the biomes to grab these to grow them in whatever biome you want. Like we've seen here, you can grow them anywhere, you just need the proper block to grow them on. So that might mean these are limited resource, which includes the wood and the Shroom Lights. But if you guys know a way to farm them, because I haven't been able to find a way, it's not like breaking these gives them, or breaking the stems gives them, because those give the wood. So at this point in time, I'm not aware of any way to sustainably farm these fellas, which means that this is a rare resource. Now, if it does come to the fact that you can farm them, that means you can get unlimited versions of these light, which again, don't need to be broken with any tool, which is absolutely bonkers. Unlimited versions of the warp blocks, which you can't really downgrade. There's no way to break them apart into their components. They just are what they are. So if you get more netherwart blocks, you can't turn them into netherwart, which is unfortunate, but that's a present mechanic already in the game. Not sure if that's going to change. And you'll get unlimited versions of the wood. And the other thing to know about these guys, if we can get my flint and steel out, is they don't burn either. Just like mushroom trees in the overworld, and unlike regular trees, as you can see, I can't really light them on fire. They don't burn, which is a really nice effect, of course, because they live in the nether. Now, onto the actual wood types. And now that we've talked about those stem blocks over there, we can see what those can craft into. They're treated very much like wood in the game, although they don't act quite like wood, as we'll show in a moment here. They have some very interesting properties. But they all form into all the basic crafting recipes of the game you know and expect from different wood types. So you got the pressure plates, the signs, the stairs. We even have the strip block, which is really cool. And we have the fences, fence gates, the door, which is really interesting, actually. And the pressure plate. Oh, not the pressure plate. The trap door. And it's the same for the Crimson and the Warped. They have all the same types of wood. They're just different colors and different looks. The real difference is in the door, I think in the trap door. They have a different look to them. Now, I have to say, it's an interesting choice making a blue and a red wood. Though I wish these had stronger colors. This crimson color doesn't really work very well with this wood. It's sort of ugly. And the same thing with this really, really dull blue color. Maybe it'll look better in the Nether. But out here in the overworld, they're not very good colors. I wish this was a little bit more red, sort of like the strains here in the stem block. And I sort of wish this was a little bit of a maybe darker blue. Might look a little bit better. But we'll see. These are what they look like as of now. And as I said, they are very different than wood in the overworld. Actually, we need to be careful because we don't want to light this on fire. But these don't burn. This wood does not burn. Unlike the other types of wood, as you can see, I can't really light it on fire. Normally, if you light a piece of wood on fire, I know, I might have to do it, it's evil, but normally if you light a piece of wood on fire, it lights on the side there. But this doesn't, so these don't burn here, which is actually a really strong choice for the Nether. If you want to build with a wood-like substance in the Nether, these are definitely the way to go. And of course, now I think it's finally time to talk about the crafting. As you can see, we've got now a blue variant of the lantern and the torch. Now this is called the Soulfire Torch and the Soulfire Lantern, respectively. And they're made with the soul soil and iron. So if we go in here into the crafting bench and look it up, we can see we got the Soulfire Lantern, which is made just like a regular lantern except using a Soulfire Torch. Made out of iron nuggets, and a Soulfire Torch, which is just like a regular torch, except made out of soul soil. Now, I do have a gripe with these. They are actually dimmer than their counterparts, but more expensive. They both have a light level of 10, which is actually absolutely abysmal, because these have a light level. This is a light level of 14, actually. The regular torch. So you're basically creating what is equivalent of a torch that's more expensive using the soul soil into a block that has less light level, which is not so good. I think that definitely needs to change. And this is even worse. Yeah, the real big disappointment here is actually with the lantern. This is still the same light level as this block here, a light level 10, but this is actually light level 15. It's on par with the Shroom Light over there, Sea Lanterns, and Glowstone. But this isn't. It's the same light level as the Soulfire Torch at level 10, which is absolutely terrible. I mean, it's nice, maybe for moody lighting, but it's a little bit more expensive than torches and lanterns. I mean, other than the fact that it's pretty much the same recipe, just using the Soulfire Torches. It's weird that it's so much dimmer. You think that the Souls of the Damned would have a little bit brighter output. Now, I think it's finally time to talk about the most interesting thing with this update, which is the new type of tools and armor. Now, it's called Netherite. As you can see, it's a very gray color. I would prefer it to be red, but I guess the Sauron armor from the Lord of the Rings is a strong choice, coming from the Nether. Or maybe it's like Mithril, or maybe it sort of reminds me of Dwemer stuff from the Elder Scrolls. Because you can't get it like you get normal stuff. It doesn't come from an ore. It actually comes from this block called Ancient Debris. Now, we can actually show where Ancient Debris spawns if we hop into the Nether. Now, as you can see here, we're at the bottom of the world in the Nether. Had to kill things with gas because they're really annoying. They just sit there screaming the whole time. It doesn't matter which version of Minecraft you are, they're still annoying. As you can see, this is the bottom of the world. That's bedrock here. And right in front of us is the Ancient Debris, which is the ore, quote-unquote, that you need to mine in order to get Netherite. Now, I believe it has the same spawning rate as diamonds from my testing. As you can see, I dug out quite a bit of area using commands. It spawns from Y16 and lower, but it's most abundant between Y levels 12 and 7, I think. And it spawns in about the same groupings, 1 to 3 usually. Can have a little bit more than that, but I haven't seen that very often. So it is really, really rare. And you can see here that it's compared to quartz. It is super rare. This means we're probably got to go strip mining in the Nether in order to find these blocks, which is absolutely bonkers. I can't imagine that, as you can see if we fly over here. This is actually what it usually looks like in the Nether, in both Bedrock and Java, I'm assuming. And, because we don't have spectator mode on Bedrock, please, spectator mode. It'd be so nice to be able to do this. You know how nice this is, being able to float through blocks? But anyway, I digress. You can see here there are a lot of lava pits and lava lakes here at the bottom of the Nether. And if you're strip mining, you could very likely walk on one of these things. So it's going to be very, very tedious to actually mine for these blocks. Which makes it's even compounded by the fact that they're actually really expensive to make into Netherite. So if we go back to the overworld, so we've mined some here in the Nether. Now we're back in the overworld, and we can actually talk a little bit about how this works. So you get the Ancient Debris way in the Nether, and it spawns like diamonds do, I believe, as I showed you. and we smelt it like this. Now, you can smelt in a blast furnace or a furnace. Blast furnace is a little bit faster. And you smelt this into the netherite scrap. Now, that's step 1 in the process of making this stuff. Next thing you're going to actually need is gold. A gold and more netherite scraps. Now, this is where the fun begins, because you're going to need 4 of these netherite scraps, plus 4 gold ingots, in order to craft the netherite ingots. Now, that's what I want to do. I want to craft... Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Don't really use this very often. You're going to need 4 of each, and as you can see, it is shapeless, which means you could put them anywhere. You could have any combination of 4 and 4, but just remember it has to be 4 of each in order to craft 1 netherite ingot. Now we finally have our netherite ingot. And this is where it gets a little bit more different, because you don't craft netherite ingots directly into armor. You need diamond armor first in order to craft it. So if we see here, if we want to craft these boots, we're going to need the diamond boots first, and then 1 netherite ingot. So it is a little bit cheaper to craft every single piece of armor. Remember, you're losing a piece of diamond in order to get a piece of netherite. And what's more is you lose any enchantments that are currently on your diamond armor when you upgrade it this way. Because this isn't an anvil, this is just a crafting bench. So say bye-bye to any enchantments you have in your nice stuff. So it's best just to start off with a fresh batch of armor when you want to do this. Now, the real difference between these tools is, of course, their damage values and their armor values. Now, netherite tools are better in every single way than diamond stuff. As you can see here, 8 damage versus 7, 6 versus 5, etc., etc. Except for hose, which of course are the exact same for every single type of item in the game. They all produce 1 damage. These actually mine faster as well as diamond, and have more durability, so they last longer and work faster, which makes them a clear upgrade over diamond in every single way. And the same thing goes for the armor. Netherite armor is much better than diamond armor. As you can see here, we get +1 armor toughness for every piece. Not necessarily +1 armor, just the toughness. We also get the secret ability, knockback resistance. If you have that on your person, if we could show over here, with our nice little Hoglin buddy. Where'd he go? I think he wandered away. Our AI dead Hoglin, which does not fight back, unfortunately. Whenever you take damage in Minecraft, you get pushed around a little bit like this. And that is the knockback in-game. And you can absolutely enchant your tools to produce more knockback, like the bow and the sword. And this armor negates that a little bit. It's on a percentage chance, from what I understand, which means it's just a little bit harder for things to push you around when you're wearing the armor. So you're a bit more of a tank. And like I said, it is definitely better than diamond armor, and has more durability. So these are definitely much better than any diamond tools. And this is a big change. There hasn't been an added item like this, added item series, in a really, really long time, practically since the game came out. One last thing to note about the netherite tools and armor is some special properties they have over any other tools in the game. Now, if we walk over to this lava, which has accidentally devastated the forest around us... Oops. Poor Dark Oak. I can't believe I burned it. But, well, don't worry, we'll fix it later. These tools have the special property that they don't burn in lava, as you can see. Accidentally throw them all in lava, they're fine. They're just floating there. And the same thing goes for fire. They don't burn in fire. So if we throw a couple of them on the ground and try not to pick them up by accident, they don't burn. And that goes for the armor as well. Because they're from the nether, I guess, they embrace the power of the nether and they don't burn. Unlike our poor Diamond Hoe here, which is going to be an example, that does burn in lava. It's instantly gone. So it really changed the game with these new tools. Makes working in the nether a little bit more practical if you die, or if you land in lava, or if you accidentally drop your tools in lava. It will make deleting these items more difficult. Because the only way I could see is deleting them is throwing them on the ground, letting them despawn, or blowing them up. And I don't know if you'll ever collect a lot of these, but it definitely is something interesting. And the ingot is the same way, as well as the ancient debris and the block, which is what you craft the netherite ingots into, if you have 9 of them. If you throw them into lava or into fire, they are also preserved. They don't get destroyed, so you can hear it burning. But not being destroyed. So these are all very unique blocks. You know, something else unique, speaking of unique, about these blocks, if we go to the block, which is crafted with 9 netherite ingots, just like any other block in the game, like gold blocks or whatever, and the ancient debris, and we, you know, just casually pull out some TNT here, we can find out that these blocks have another interesting property that no other blocks in the game have. In that, as we see here, they don't explode. No damage. Now, I have to remind you, because you may not know, there are only 2 blocks in the entire game, prior to these 2, that do not get damaged by TNT, and that's Obsidian and Bedrock itself. So now we have effectively doubled the number of blocks that are indestructible to TNT. which might be really useful for certain scenarios. So say you want to crop a wither, some people have been talking about, that might be able to be used there, though I've not tested that myself. And a couple other scenarios, like blast-proofing your buildings. Like this guy can see it has a really good ship armor, like a spaceship armor, or something like that, like Durasteel from Star Wars. It looks very good like that. As you can see, if we want to place the block out. And it's completely blast resistant, as we just showed. Hate auto jump. I don't like it on any version of the game. Again, I digress. These blocks are really, really powerful. The ancient debris, less so. The shipment elite would be easier to collect than the block of netherite, but the block of netherite is nicer looking. So, again, that is pretty much everything that has been given in the latest snapshot. I do expect to read more stuff. Maybe more biomes, not sure. This might be it for the biomes. Definitely more mobs. We don't have the new pig people hanging out yet. And the Hoglins don't have an AI, and they don't drop anything yet. And I'm sure there's quite a couple other things they're going to change. Well, with that, gotta find the right key to switch my camera around. We conclude this in-depth tutorial on all the new blocks in the game. Now, I have spent quite a number of hours going through everything, combing through these different things. These are going to change the game more than any other changes that have been made in the game, probably in the last 8 or 10 years, since it's probably the 1.0 update, I predict. Now, that might be a little exaggerating it, but this is, again, more stuff that has been changed in the game than anything in a really long time. It really is going to change the meta, how people play in survival, in creative, in PvP, in all sorts of different environments, and it's really going to be completely revamping the whole nether. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. I'm going to be keeping track of this more. I'm going to be spending more time seeing what things are. If you got anything else that I did not talk about, feel free to share it in the comments or let me know on my Discord. I'm going to be exploring this more often, and as soon as I get to the Bedrock betas, which might not be for a while, I'm going to be looking at that as well, because I definitely want to see how it affects the game I usually play. So Java definitely gets all this nice stuff first, and gets to play with it around a little bit easier than the Bedrock betas. So, that's it for me. I hope you have a great day today, and if not, there's always tomorrow. I'll see you then. Goodbye, everybody!